Shabbat Shalom, everyone. If you could please find your seats. Otherwise, our friends on Facebook are going to see the back of your head. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Clap with us. Hallelujah, 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 Shabbat Shalom together. How wonderful it is that we are here together to sing Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Can you sing that one more time? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And here's the second part. Shabbat Shalom. Umevorach. Say that. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which camera? Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's good. It's not just good. It's amazing to not only be together, but to be out here in the Schiffer Family Terrace Outdoor Chapel. No outdoor, chapel. We're working on it to roll off the tongue a little more as we go. We'll get there. We'll get there. Friends who are joining us online at this time, Stephen Blick, I believe, is pinning the service into the Facebook feed. Now's the time online to, start saying hello to people. I'm Rabbi Rachel. This is Cantor Adesnik. And of course, Mark Feinberg's still here on the cameras, and Stephen Blake back doing the tech, making it all work, and Seth on the sound tonight. Thank you, Seth. So, on this wonderful, wonderful Shabbat, we're still not ready to get up and shake hands exactly all over the terrace here, but we will take just a moment, turn to the neighbors, and give a little Shabbat Shalom as we sing Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Friends, we also, in addition to this being our very first Shabbat out on the terrace, evening service, tomorrow morning will be our first Tat Shabbat service out here. And tomorrow evening, of course, Sylvia Bryman will become Bat Mitzvah right here in this wonderful, wonderful space. And we're very, very excited. An early Mazel Tov. So a little bit before we really get comfy here, I had the chance when I was driving in, it was still light out, and the trees, right as you approach Temple Emanu-El, blooming, bright white, drive by during the day. And then, I got to come down the road and to walk out here and to see the trees, which you can't see at the moment, but to see the trees and to see the sky and to see the sunset was truly spectacular. And I hope perhaps you will imagine all of those things as we settle in and take a few deep breaths to leave behind last week and to enter Shabbat. So if you like to, perhaps close your eyes, feet on the floor, back against the chair, deep breath in together, and let it out. Next breath, we're thinking of all those beautiful things in the world. Deep breath in and let it out. This final breath, we prepare to enjoy the beauty of Shabbat. Deep breath in and let it out. Friends, if you haven't lit candles at home, we invite you to do so now. Those of you who are here, I'll invite you to turn. You don't really have to turn. It's on page 1, our candle blessing. Please rise.
So bring in. We bring in that light, the warmth, community, and energy. We say our bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat.
Please have a seat as we sing Shalom Aleichem, page 2, welcoming in the angels.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamachim, Kadosh Baruch.
Page 3, Lachadodi, as we welcome in the Sabbath bride, we welcome in Shabbat. We're still asking for Shabbat to really come into us. These are the prayers that help us to warm up and feel like we are ready to pray as we reach Baruch Hu. But first we have to get there. And we get there with this prayer of Lachadodi, page 3.
Lechatodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechatodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Adedi. Lechatodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechatodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'divorecha, Tishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, V'shemo tiferet v'mitila. L'chadodi together. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat l'chu v'nelecha, Tihi mekor ha'beracha, Merosh mikadem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh v'machshavat liba. Feel free to clap. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Itoreri, itoreri, Tiva'orei, uri, ori, uri, uri, shir kameri, Kevod Adonai alai tiflar. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
We rise and face the entrance.
Shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha uvetzaholo, Trochunei am segula, Boichala, boichala. L'chadodi, l'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Adedi. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
We remain standing our call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 4.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed.
There's no question about it. We can see it right in front of us. The darkness has rolled in. Ma'ariv Aravim roll into dark.
Roll into dark, roll into light.
cover our eyes or close them tight, we imagine a beautiful embrace of holy energy around us as we declare God's oneness with Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. On page 5, you'll find our Ve'ahavta prayer. Of course, a prayer about love, of loving God, and doing so not just with our heart or with our mind or with our body, but all of them at the same time. And that's not always easy. It's not easy to love anything absolutely all of the time. And Judaism gives us that option to wrestle with it, to wrestle with how we view God, how we view Judaism, because the wrestling is us practicing our Judaism. We think about that as we chant together these words of Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha v'kumecha ukishartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'lechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem Elohim ani
Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet.
Page 6, we have Micha Mocha, a prayer that is always relevant, but is becoming more and more relevant as Pesach is just around the corner. It is the story of our Exodus. It is the story of moving from slavery to redemption, from feeling like, from being in bonds, there we go, that's the word, from being in bonds to being able to walk free. And we use that energy of freedom within as we sing Micha Mocha.
Yada lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai 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 lai, yada lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai 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 lai, one more time. Yada lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai 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 lai, yada lai 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 lai, yada lai lai lai, yada lai 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 lai, توی امونیا خزاک میمنو باروخ אתה אדוני גאל ישראל יאללה ליי 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 יאללה ליי 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 יאללה ליי 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 יאללה ליי 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 יאללה ליי 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 יאללה ליי ליי ליי
Hashkivenu asks for a shelter of peace, a layer of protection, if you will. And now is particularly a time when many of us are looking for protection, where we're wearing layers of protection to keep us safe. Protection to keep us safe. And in that same way, do we think about this prayer? Asking that God be with us, that God protect us, and that we feel that shelter of peace. Page 6.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim
On page 7, our prayer for Shabbat. Vishamru, it asks us to do something with this day, to acknowledge it, to be present in it, to take these 25 hours and just live our lives a little bit differently. Give ourselves some space, give ourselves some rest, maybe even turn off our phones or our TVs for a little bit, and just be. The Shamru, page 7.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם. Sing that again. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם. ששת ימים, כששת ימים, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם. וביום השביעי שבת ויעבוד, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Last year, March 20th, 2020, was the first time that the clergy team, which was Cantor and I, led services to an empty sanctuary. And I'm mentioning it this evening because in the Jewish cycle of life, it wasn't just March 20th, but it was Parshat Vayakel Pekudei, our Torah portion for this Shabbat. And thus, this is the first time that we are reading a Torah portion for the second time during a global pandemic. And by now, some of you may have noticed that every once in a while I like to quote sermons from the previous year when they seem to be so relevant just 1 year later. So, for that reason, here is how I began my sermon for Parshat Vayakel Pekudei just last year. Ironically, our Torah portion this week, Vayakel Pekudei, begins with the word Vayakel, meaning assemble. That's right. In the midst of physical distancing that we all face right now, our Torah portion is talking to us about the gathering and assembly of the Israelites. Vayakel Moshe et kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and spoke to them. There we go. Well, friends, after a full calendar year of social distancing, creative virtual programming and services, creative and mass in-person programming and services, it finally feels like a spark of hope has entered the room, entered this space. What a time to read these words again. Vayakel Moshe et kol adat bnei Yisrael. Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and spoke to them. The other day, Max and I were in the car, and he said, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I'm starting to daydream about what the future will look like. The friends and family I'll get to hug. The groups of people I'll be able to see. The congregation coming back into the building. Perhaps you have been daydreaming as well. And Max was talking about what it would look like to assemble. And while we're obviously not ready for everyone to bust through the doors, there are these beautiful sparks of hope. Like the fact that I'm preaching to more than Mark Feinberg and Stephen Blick, however lovely it may be to preach to them. But we have found ways through the guidance of the CDC and medical professionals to still gather in the safest ways possible during the pandemic. With new regulations coming out with what feels like every day, and with more vaccines going into the arms of community members, we will continue to follow their guidance to proceed with a safe return. Our assembly, or perhaps I should refer to it as our reassembly, will likely come about in stages. This is not so different from the ways in which the Israelites constructed the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and all of the other spaces and decor that went inside. The Parsha takes 9 verses just to list all of the pieces. We too have many pieces to put together as we all transition to the new normal. And so let us recall that the whole point of the Mishkan was to give God a place to dwell as the Israelites journeyed through the wilderness and to the promised land. So now we are discovering and rediscovering what it means to create spaces not only where we invite God to dwell as we continue through this metaphoric unknown wilderness, but we must also think deeply about the safest ways to allow all of us to assemble again. This time last year in the Jewish calendar, we were creating a virtual Mishkan together for our congregation and a Mikdash Me'at, a little sanctuary for our homes. We were flying by the seat of our pants, as they say, without the lead time that the Israelites had for their construction. And though we sometimes still forget how to unmute ourselves on Zoom, we have weathered the storm of the wilderness with the resiliency passed down to us by our ancestors. And now it feels like each of us is Moses. Moses, at that moment when he could stare out and see the promised land he had been journeying to for so long. But, unlike Moses, I pray that each of us continues to follow the proper guidelines to allow us entry into this new promised land. We're so close. We're so close. And it feels like we can reach out and grasp the moment, but we must proceed with caution to protect those around us. And as we plan to assemble in new ways, let us be patient with one another. As the physical distancing gap begins to close, we will come together even stronger. Having spent what will be over a year physically distant, we must remember that we never stopped being spiritually close. We will build upon that spiritual energy, and our latest iteration of the Mishkan will be a place that God dwells with us in joy. So take care of yourselves. Check in on those you love. Check in on those who are most vulnerable. And may this be a Shabbat of rest and renewal. Shabbat Shalom. Friends, at this time, we will turn back in our packets to, is it page 7, I believe?
Page 7.
Page 7. We'll rise for our Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo v'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashik ha'ruach u'morid ha'gashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishemei afar, Nichamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ve'eman atah hayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim chol yom yehalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We take a few moments for silent prayer and meditation. When you've completed your prayers, I invite you to be seated.
On page 9, my house. This week's Parsha talks about this idea of building a house where we can all gather. As Rabbi Rachel so beautifully put it, where we can assemble and now reassemble. And so we reassemble by building our house of love and trust and faith, truth, peace, and love. Will you build me a house the house that really will be mine. Then let me give you my design, a simple scheme of the house I dream of. Build my house of wood, build my house of stone, build my house of brick and mortar. Make the ceiling strong, strong against the storm, shelter when the days grow shorter. But build my house with love and paint my house with trusting and warm it with the warmth of your heart. Make the floor of faith, make the walls of truth, put a roof of peace above. Only build my house of love.
On behalf of Robert Wittenstein, who's here, we should have you do this next time. On behalf of the Board of Trustees as well, a few announcements to share. So if you haven't already, I greatly encourage you to sign up for the Affinity, like TE, small groups. We're utilizing the platform Slack in order to organize all of our small groups, which, from science fiction, right, that's what you read, science fiction book club, to a regular book club, to hiking, new parents, empty nest, well, I guess Empty Nesters already has their group, but all kinds of different groups. Go online. We've got a whole list, and if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us so we can show you how to be a part of these small groups. The other big piece that I wanted to mention tonight is that we are still doing a second night Seder, so we hope that you all can go ahead and register online and join us via Zoom for what should be a lovely, lovely second night Seder. And finally, for those joining us online, there will be a link for the Zoom Oneg that will be dropped at the very end of the service. And so now, at this lovely time, I'm excited to ask if anybody here has something lovely that is going on in your lives that you would like to share ahead of this Shehechianu moment. And B'nai Mitzvah kids, this is your time to let us know that you are here. Well, don't leave me hanging. Something good going on somewhere, right?
Tonight.
Yes.
Mazel
Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Wonderful, wonderful. They got their vaccine. Yes. First night in our beautiful
Yes.
chapel. Keep our mask on, though, when we do our spiel. Ellen. Oh,
Yay!
Ellen's 99-year-old dad got out of his room. Wonderful. Beautiful. Cantor.
Well, Rick took mine, but I'm going to say it was so lovely to hear the voices of our kahal and to be able to actually sing with you together is really something truly special.
You're pointing as if I missed one. Oh, no, he's good. So, what am I thankful for?
Yes.
Definitely the space. I mean, this is amazing, amazing, amazing to be out here, and it's God blessed us with a beautiful, beautiful weekend to use this space for the very first time. And for that, I believe we are all grateful. And because it is the first time that we are doing Friday night services here, like the good Reformed Jews that we are, we do a Shehechianu, page 10. Page 10.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higiyanu hazman hazeh. Amen.
And even in the joy of being together and lifting one another up in these joyous moments, we do it also because we know that there are still those in our circle, in our wider circles, who are hurting. And for them, we offer words of Mishaberach, prayers for healing. Tonight, we are especially thinking of Brett Samsky, Andy Rush, Zohara Aviva Miller, Gary Cantor, Harvey Apple, Alvin Levy, Yetabat Yosef Lev Miriam, Zalik Ben Ressel, Matthew Wilcox, Judith Sina, Beverly Harrell, Lisa Solanik, Chet Parver, and Hannah Hazen. If on this Shabbat you are thinking of somebody, I invite you to share their name aloud as my hands pass over you. And for those of you online, please go ahead and put those names in the feed. We rise, Mishaberach. Remain standing for Kiddush on page 11, and I think this is one of my daydreams, which is of all the, and this feels very far, but of all the kids running up for that precious, precious itty-bitty cup of grape juice. I look forward to that moment. Let's imagine it now. Page 11, Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Puri Hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחג לשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
We will remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach, and this is very appropriate. John and Emily, would y'all help us out and open the ark? For Aleinu L'Shabeach, page 12. Oh, I guess we cornered it up.
It's okay.
I can't see it. Go ahead.
It's
I did that yesterday. Just give it a nice little extra love. Yep. There you go.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגוי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. For those who have been looking around all night, you'll see that at the very top it says Ma Norah Hamakom Hazeh, which means how awesome, like grand, how awesome is this place. A beautiful, beautiful piece of Torah to look at as we get to be in this outdoors, and during the day look at all of the lovely greenery behind us. At this time of our service, of course, we recall the memory of loved ones who have been with us in recent days and in seasons past, that we have now felt their loss in these recent days and seasons past. And in doing Kaddish Yatom, we bring their memory back to us. We are in a period of Shloshim for Murray Howard, Theodore Blyman, Richard T. Steinberg, Jacqueline Klein Salenfreund, Deborah Braun Schwartz, Peter de Argenzio, and Beverly Miller. On this Shabbat, we are observing the yahrzeits for Erwin B. Apple, Sylvia W. Becker, Morris Maury Brill, Edward Cohn, Alex Cypress, Louis Deutsch, Erwin Einstein, Maxine Feinberg, Isabel Ard Feintuck, Joan Eagle First, Rose Goldberg, Albert Al Goldman, Hyman Goldstein, Henrietta Goldstein, Sophie Gottlieb, Frida Harris, Carlton Herman, Gussie Kaufman, Pauline King, Cressy Klein, Joyce Klein, George Lewin, Yetta Lieber, Philip Lippman, Lou Lipson, Michael Lustig, Grover Mundell, Noel Netherton, Walter Buddy Oberfeld, William Penn, Jean Piasek, Lillian Pomerantz, Gilbert Sheff, Louis Schwartz, Jack Silvers, Alex Slade, Dina Steinberg, William Tauber, Nicholas Tebenow, Jack Trackman, Nancy Unker, Olga Wachtenheim, Emmy Weiss, and Dorothy Wilcox. If at this time you are in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of losing a loved one, I invite you to please rise at this time. If you are in the first year mourning the loss of a loved one, I invite you to please rise at this time. If on this Shabbat you are observing a yahrzeit, the death anniversary of a loved one, I invite you to please rise at this time. And if it is your custom to rise for Kadisha Tom, as it is here at Temple Emanu-El, I invite you to do so now as we join together in words of Kadisha Tom, our Mourner's Kaddish, page 13. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kodesha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.